Hi. So first, I'd like to apologize for the darkness in the room. I'm having to do this in a different area than I would normally do. So a little bit about my project, this situation. I am currently an educator, staff development educator for a unit at Centera Rockingham Memorial Hospital here in Harrisonburg. It is a medical unit, so there are stroke patients and dialysis patients. We do a lot of heart failure patients. The unit is comprised of registered nurses and nursing care partners, and there's a manager, myself, and a director that has an office up on the 5th floor. I've been doing this for about a year now, but before that I was a unit coordinator on night shift on that same unit, so I've been able to work alongside many of the staff members. The situation currently is that we have found over the past year or so that documentation has been lacking amongst our nursing care partners, and that has been brought to our attention by a lot of doctors and even nurses. So we have educated these staff, or I have educated staff for the past year, especially nursing care partners, on the importance of documentation. We have found that, I guess through a background, I should say, is that I have talked to staff, and I've also done a lot of audits on nursing care documentation to see how we can improve. As we all may know, nursing care partners or patient care techs, their documentation is very important, especially with intake and output for our cardiologists. They really rely on knowing how much a patient has drank, how much they haven't drank, how much they put out, how much they haven't put out. They really rely on that information to ensure that they give the patients the right medications, or if they would need to switch them from Lasix to BMX, different diuretics, if they need to put them on fluid restrictions, if they're going to be able to send them home the next day. Especially also, documentation with mobility. If you get a patient out of the bed, it's really important you document that. So case management's aware of how they're getting up and moving, if they need to go to a nursing facility or if they can go home. So a lot of the documentation, those are really pertinent things, is having these nursing care partners document, especially to intake and output, but also to mobility, of when they get a patient out of bed, what they do with that patient, how the patient did in those circumstances. When I did an audit, it showed that 50% of the nursing care partners actually do 50% of their documentation. So it sounds pretty bad. However, it shows that there is an area for improvement. I talked to staff about, some of the barriers to, not documenting these things. And a lot of them said, either the computers in the rooms were down, or, they just didn't have time, so they would write things down really quickly on a piece of paper instead of logging into the computer, and then they'd forget to document it later. They all knew that it was important to document. So that shows me that there's no knowledge barrier there. They know that, but there is an actual efficiency barrier. They have a lot of patients, or, they are very just busy. There's patients calling all the time that need things, and they want to get to them as quickly as possible. So sometimes things are just forgotten, or they don't have something readily available to them to document. A little bit more of a background is that nurses at the hospital on 5 West currently utilize computers on wheels. And as a nurse at the bedside, I found that very beneficial, and I found that documentation happened in real time, and that I was documenting better, and I was documenting more thoroughly, and I didn't really forget things as much. So when I assessed the situation, I assessed that there is a need for something to help with documentation, whether that be education, or I don't think it's an education thing, but just a way to figure out how to break through the barriers that we are finding with efficiency. And I guess efficiency is the biggest thing. So my recommendation has been that during COVID, we currently utilize iPads or Samsung tablets throughout the hospital. And once that kind of calms down, we have a lot of them. If we could utilize them to place Epic onto these devices so that techs can utilize them into different rooms and they can always have that on them and always be logged into the device. I have gotten a preceptor who is a manager on a different unit than the unit I precept for. We have talked, and we don't know which unit we would like to pilot it on, but we want to get a team together to see if it's a possibility. We still don't know if that's a possibility. We're hoping. So we're hoping to get a team of nursing care partner from the unit we're hoping to do the pilot on, and then a manager of the unit. So if I'm doing it on 5 West, then I can utilize that manager. Maybe we're going to hopefully get IT involved in the meeting, especially if they can't attend the meeting, but keep in close contact with them about securing the devices. And then also the quality coordinator or someone who is in quality that would be able to come and sit on this meeting, and also a nurse. So I think it's really important that nurses are involved in this because they also have to document a lot, and they also can give a little bit of a feedback of, you know, how maybe the documentation that they're seeing, or if they have, since they've been able to utilize the computers on wheels, how that has impacted their documentation. So if we take it to someone further up, they can show also the importance of why it's important to have something mobile to help them. So I really haven't gotten very far in the project. I've kind of got an idea that I would like to utilize something mobile for these texts to document to, because I found in the literature this last semester that mobile technology is really beneficial for not only physicians and nurses, but it can be beneficial for documenting vital signs and things like that with nursing care partners. And it did show in a lot of the studies that it's important. So that has been my recommendation. If IT would be able to get on board with this and secure these devices, I think that this would be a very doable project. So that's a little bit about my project. Sorry, it's a little bit all over the place, but I'm really excited to see if this is something that I can do.